Hello, on our podcast show this week, has Elon Musk and Tesla perpetrated the ultimate troll on the EV makers, all EV makers in Canada? Earlier this year, and I'll explain myself. Earlier this year, Weights and Measures Canada, the governing body that regulates, well, weights and measures. Let me give you an example. Let's just say that the metric system, how it's implemented, how power is distributed so you don't get ripped off at the meter, how gas is distributed so that they certify all the pumps. So you're getting 1 liter for a certain rate rather than 0.9 of a liter for a certain rate. These are the people that do all those things, and they take care of that regulation. But anyhow, they started to allow something that I think a lot of EV users wanted eventually, which is to have EV providers, have EV charging providers charge and bill customers by the kilowatt hour. Now, if you think about how our homes are billed, we are billed by the kilowatt hour as well too. BC Hydro, where we are at, you and me, Winston, we are billed by the kilowatt hour at 9 cents, just over 9 cents per kilowatt hour. And then over a certain point, we get billed 14 something cents per kilowatt hour. So that's our tier 2. So this is what many people in the industry has been pushing for. But over time, when it's good and ready to happen in this country, okay, there is an organic way that this will happen. And we'll also talk about that as well too. However, Elon and Tesla started their lobby, and that means that they wanted to fast track this through the Canadian government, through Weights and Measures Canada, to make this change. And this whole thing started over 2 years ago, like around when the pandemic was kind of things are happening. You know what? We got nothing better to do. Why don't we just troll the market? And I'll tell you why this is a troll. Because by doing this push artificially to get to kilowatt hour billing, it's going to have some horrible real world consequences to everybody that doesn't drive a Tesla. All right. So this means that your wife, if you decide to take her ID4 whenever she gets delivery, she might find a little problem with accessing the publicly funded resource that all of us put our tax dollars towards, right? And when we put our tax dollars towards something together, like our roads, our transit, we want equal access, right? It doesn't matter what we pay for it. It's just, I want my slice of time. Time is the most important thing to us. So if I'm in traffic, I get pissed off. Right? But if I can drive the highway at a certain rate and get to my destination without being impeded, I'm very happy. So to help me unpack all of this is our good friend, Winston Chim. Like, how close are you to getting your new EV? I mean, your wife is on the waiting list. You spoke about trying to get a Tesla. Prices are falling though. How's that going?
Well, I'm nowhere near because I'm still on the wait list, and I still haven't got a call or nothing. I've seen the ID4s, the Volkswagen ID4s. I've seen a couple of cars going around. That's not a problem. They have, well, in Canada, they have maybe certain number of stock, and that's all probably all sold out. So they're waiting for the next batch to be shipped in. But I was still on the wait list, and we're looking at probably towards the end of the year or possibly early next year, maybe.
That's so long.
It is. And of course, chip production shortages and stuff like that is slowly kind of eased, and still they need to ramp up the production. That's for like Volkswagen and other car manufacturers, right? But of course, Tesla, they have their own gigafactories, and they're planning one in Germany. I think they're planning one in one of the Asian countries. They got one in China already. They're building another one they got one in California, I think, or Texas is planning and stuff like that. So it's Tesla's got their production kind of like all sorted. So that's why you're seeing a lot more Teslas now. And they're cutting prices and things like that. But for other car manufacturers, they're slowly ramping up production, and we're going to see, like I said, the EV trucks as well from all the other big, brands. But for us, we're still waiting, and we could get a call at the end of the year, but who knows? But
Well,
it's a long, arduous way.
good news for you, though. The Canadian government has worked with the Ontario government to put the very first Volkswagen battery plant in Ontario. So they'll be building batteries there. They'll also be building vehicles as well, too. So recently, because your wife is a VW fan, they've announced in a smaller vehicle that a lot of people will find very popular. It's called the ID2. It may not make it to Canada.
One small one.
So it's a small one, right? It's like the size of like it's like a GTI or something,
like a hatch,
but smaller.
Hatchback, GTI,
it's a hatch.
golf type of
And this is something that Elon alluded to at their investor day as well too, that they would be coming off a Model 2, which would also have similar specs. But it seems like VW has beat them to the punch on the official announcement. They've got some pricing on it. They've got some specs, but with VW right now, they're still working out a lot of things that Tesla has already worked out, which is the software and, of course, the infrastructure that we're going to be talking about today, which is a huge part of EV ownership. And the other thing, too, is that the ultimate troll right now for EV owners is that if you want any other EV, you will wait a few months for it. But on average, most people that want a Tesla, if they order it today, they'll get it within a month.
Why is that? Is it because they got a backlog of stock ready, or what's happening with that?
Well, you have to realize that in a vertically integrated chain, every single part that is in the Tesla chain is already inventoried and allocated, right? So if they need to replace a part in production, they basically make that change immediately, and the car just gets pushed out with another part, or they omit parts like they have in the past with missing LiDAR. That's right.
You mentioned that like all of Tesla cars are the same.
They're
just
the same.
Enable the software or disable the features and stuff like that, right? Is that what you're saying?
They used to do that a lot more often because it was just faster to build the cars that way. But now they ship batteries with if the car had a certain battery, you're getting that battery nowadays. But they used to ship every car like the same, and then you would unlock it based on the software or the upgrade that you would do. In that sense, it's kind of wasteful, but in another sense, if in the resale market, the vehicle becomes a lot more valuable because you could double check to see if that was a Model 3 long range bought as a standard range.
And then you can upgrade and then just enable it.
So there were a lot of things that they did: seat heaters, other little add-ons that were just included because it was just easier to put the same seat in. Because they're manufactured that way. So they learned a lot of things from that stage. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hard on Tesla. I just don't like Elon, but I think the vehicles are fantastic.
And that's why the initial cars were expensive, because you're paying premium for something that already has all the features, but you're paying only for like certain specs. So they disable it or enable it depending on your package, right?
And other manufacturers are doing the same thing. Like we covered this a few podcasts ago, where we were talking about how BMW was actually doing a subscription model for the seat heaters in your car. Right? So at certain parts of the year when you need seat heaters, you would just pay X amount of dollars per month to enable it. When you are not, then the feature is not available to you. Audi also did something like this, but I don't think they implemented it correctly because it actually insulted you when you didn't have this feature. It said it in such a German way that it's like, oh, you're too cheap to buy this. This feature is not available. You are too cheap.
Oh God.
So like it's a developing kind of situation, and I think that I think the manufacturers will eventually figure it out.
Yeah, I have a question though. So you mentioned earlier that about government publicly funded chargers out there, right? Yeah. So and these are public chargers and everything, and Tesla has their own private chargers, is that right?
That's
so
right.
They have their own infrastructure and stuff like that. So, but the same thing is, the question is, do they also get public money funded for creating or building these chargers that they have?
In the U.S. initially, and globally, they did not. Globally, they did not. So initially, when they rolled out the network and everything like that, it was important. It was not necessarily an important thing, but they just rolled out their own network the way that they wanted to roll it out based on their specs, so that they can vertically integrate the vehicle performance with the charging performance. And I'll get into why that's important in a little bit. But they they were not given money to build their charging network initially, right?
So it's all privately funded.
It's all private.
Their own network.
That's
so
right.
Nothing to do with the public, right?
Yeah. Now, what was kind of nefarious, and most people don't actually realize this, they made a change to this recently because they call it the North American Charging Standard, and that's kind of their way to kind of get into the people's good graces. But when they initially launched the charging system and everything, how the connector and everything, I read that a lawyer looked at the agreement.
Okay.
That it's free. Go ahead and use our standard. We don't want a royalty. However, what was inside that agreement, that open source license, was that if you did anything to violate the license, it would lock out all of your vehicles. So if Ford went partnered with Tesla, used the open source license, rolled out all of their vehicles with their Tesla charging standard, the now known as North American Charging Standard, if they like, basically it was so petty. It was like, if you upset Elon, he could lock out all your chargers. He would lock out all your vehicles and you wouldn't be able to use them. All right. That was the original kind of thing. And a lawyer dissecting it's like, no. Why would anyone agree to this? This would basically cripple your entire fleet because you're an idiot and you didn't read the agreement. But thankfully, every manufacturer did read the agreement, and already overseas, the CCS charging standard was already happening. So there's CHAdeMO, there's CCS, and there's just J1772, which is your house plug, right? But these fast charging standards were already coming over. CHAdeMO lost, which is the circular one that you see on Nissan Leafs. CCS is the standard globally now. North American Charging Standard is just a name that Elon's team put on their charger to kind of win people over, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, it has technical benefits. It is a smaller charger. It's a little bit sleeker, but it would require a lot of retooling of everything that has already been brought over from Europe. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. And yeah,
it's very much like the Apple of the car world, right? I mean, Elon Musk with the Teslas. I mean, if you buy into the ecosystem, that's it. You have to go with it, and whatever Tesla does, you have to go with it. There's no like, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that.
Yeah, and it gets a little
Tesla.
Yeah,
you have to stick with Tesla.
Well, it gets a little bit more dodgy because if you own a Tesla, there are some things that you can do that no other EV owner can do, and it's related to charging. But let me run through some stats first, and then we'll get a lay of the land of what Canada's dealing with right now. So currently in Canada, there are 8,732 charging sites across Canada. All right. Charging sites can have multiple chargers, or they might have a single. That's why I don't love that number, but this has been collected by a third-party interest group that has pulled all of the charging data from the Canadian government on chargers that are publicly funded, and also ones from Tesla based on whatever data that they can find. As a quick note, Tesla charging sites, some of them are funded by the Canadian government partially because they add 2 slow DC fast chargers to the end of the stalls as part of the agreement. So if you go to a Tesla charging site, you might find chargers that are compatible with a non-Tesla vehicle. Just FYI. Versus what's happening right now in the US, they're actually building the chargers to accept both standards to access government money in the US. So that's a completely different thing. It might come to Canada, it might not, depending on what we do. In terms of level 2 charging ports, and now these are the long-term charging ports. These are the ones where you park underground overnight, you charge your car, you're ready for the next morning, right? Or you go to the mall and you're there for 3-4 hours. This is opportunity charging, right? So there's 16,579 of these level 2 charging ports across Canada that are logged in. All right. So there might be ones that are completely not logged in, including the one in my garage. It's not counted. So these are all publicly accessible charging points.
Publicly, not privately properties or anything like that. Public,
publicly available, potentially government subsidized by the city, et cetera, right? So these are just the ones that they have counted, right? You may not see DC fast chargers being privately funded. and there are 3,899 of them in Canada because of the cost.
Right. So with the cost, this is something you pay extra.
Yes.
And if you do decide to use a DC fast charger, not publicly funded and stuff like that, you have to pay extra, right? Per whatever.
You may.
Okay.
You may. Okay. In most cases, the benchmark price is set by the utility, and the utility might have some chargers out there like BC Hydro. BC Hydro's rates are very similar to the rates that third parties are charging. With the exception of Petro-Canada, they're charging a premium for some weird reason. I don't know why, but their chargers are also the worst. Now, compare it to Tesla. Now, I read you that number, 3,899 charging ports. Tesla has 1,490 supercharger ports, the equivalent. That's over 1/3 of all DC fast chargers are Tesla chargers. So that's why Tesla has the breadth and depth across Canada to get you pretty much everywhere. Each and every site is placed strategically across most major highways, and they will have more than 4, probably 6 chargers. Okay. All right.
So for long distance, that's it. People will think, okay, Tesla has got a better kind of range and coverage.
So that's the reason why people have that belief, and it's for good reason, because they have 1/3 of them. Everything else is fragmented across all of the providers. In Canada, we've got Electrify Canada, which is a VW subsidiary, also known as Electrify America in the US, but you have to use 2 different apps. Petro-Canada is also nationwide. We also have Shell Recharge. We also have Esso on the Run now. We also have, and each of these stations, each of these providers have pros and cons. And, they're a little bit fragmented. One of the issues is, of course, payment. You can't just tap it sometimes because they're either frozen. You need the app. And sometimes the app also gives you discounts, but again, you don't have the option not to use the app, especially in low coverage areas, which kind of sucks.
So 1,490 superchargers, and these are the fast chargers, right?
These are the fast chargers.
What about the ordinary, like you said, the level 2?
Not that big of a deal for Tesla. They only have 2,100 of these level 2 charging stations available, right? But this is the thing.
If you look at the numbers, though, they only, if you total both DC chargers and level 2 chargers total, they only have, was it like 3,500 chargers, roughly?
Yeah.
Compared to 16,000 level 2 chargers publicly funded and stuff like that.
So, and this is what I'm going to get to in 1 second. I'm going to finish this list and I'm going to tell you why this is kind of trolly. So, again, like I said, Tesla usually has more than 1 stall. Probably, I've seen no fewer than 4. Most of the time, it's 6. And here's some other really important things, and this gets into the level 2 and the accessibility. Most EVs take about 45 minutes to charge, 20 to 80%. That's the average in my vehicle, right?
More than enough, right?
Right.
To get around.
Yeah. So that's my lunch break, and I'm done, right? I take a longer charge and I'm done, right? This is the fastest. This is the best part of the curve to charge my vehicle, right? And the nice thing about having a vehicle that charges in this range is that it's typically under the 90 kWh pricing model.
So you get a low rate.
I get the lowest possible rate because my car does not exceed 90. Once the plug plugs into my vehicle, it accesses my BMS, battery management system, that says, hey, this car is not capable of 90. I'm going to charge them the way lower rate. So it's kind of a sweet spot on my vehicle. Most vehicles are set up this way. It's great. Newer EVs take 20 minutes. So you're talking about the Ioniq 5. You're talking about the EV6. You're talking about all newer generation vehicles, Taycan, whatever, right? All of the new truck EVs, like they're 20, 25 minutes. They're up to 20 to 80%, depending on the battery size, though. Yeah, that's based on a 64 kilowatt battery, 60 to 66 kilowatt hour battery. The Ford and the Rivians have like 100 kilowatt hour batteries. So keep that in mind.
So with that, you say 45 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on the vehicle, newer and older EVs and stuff like that. Are these on the level 2 chargers?
No, this is all DC fast charging.
Fast charging.
So this is all DC fast charging. This is your travel, right? So, but older vehicles, and this is why it's going to be an issue. This is how the troll is going to happen, is that older EVs are becoming your used secondhand vehicles on the market, right? A lot of people are going to be picking them up. They're going to do a really great job for the environment because there's no fumes. You can't smell them in the cabin. You might even be healthier and happier doing your 2-hour commute every day, right? These vehicles, your Leafs and your Bolts, they charge up to 50 kilowatt hour, but they can take over an hour, up to an hour, 20 to 80 to get to 20 to 80% charge, which is your standard charge, right? Teslas, on the other hand, are more consistent. You usually get out there within 20 to 25 minutes and you're done on all Teslas.
On all Teslas. Okay,
right.
So 20 minutes, that's the kind of average time.
So it's very, very consistent. So the conclusion is that, Tesla has high capacity at each charging station, right? So they've got a minimum of 4-6 stations, and they are not compatible with other EVs. So it's always a Tesla there, right? So you've got high turnover, consistent rates. And Teslas all charge relatively fast based on how they charge. They charge at much faster rates overall, and they're optimized for their network, right? So you're not giving up anything. Tesla knows that this battery, blah, blah, blah. It's analyzed it. You're getting this charge as fast as possible compared to all other EVs, right? So my example here, and this is like the level 2 part, right? The level 2 chargers, every single Tesla can use one with an adapter.
Right.
So it's a non-issue. Tesla does not have to build level 2s.
So if you haven't got Tesla, if you're driving past a charging station and there's no Tesla charging port there, right?
Yeah.
Or
it's a level 2.
I can use any other publicly funded one.
Any publicly funded
adapter.
One. Yeah, you just use this tiny little adapter. It's completely compatible with the standard J1772 charger, which is your level 2 at most malls. These are the slower chargers, right? These are the ones that charge you for the parking spot, and you're happy because it's right at the front. Why not? Right? So it's very, very convenient, right? So this is your opportunity charging.
The public funded chargers, how fast they charge a Tesla though? Is that 40 minutes or 20 minutes? Is that?
It depends. It depends, right? Tesla also has what they call a CCS charger adapter. And depending on the charger, you'll go all the way up to 150 kilowatt hour.
Okay.
So
it will take advantage of whatever.
It's slower,
station.
but it's still faster.
Yeah. Okay.
A Tesla is not a detriment to existing public charging infrastructure. This is an important point.
Okay.
It's not a burden. It's not a burden. Everyone still gets equal access, even if the Tesla is there charging, because they have fast turnover. Okay. So very much so, it's like at a gas station, you do get charged by the liter, right? Just like the motion from Tesla is to have everyone in a happy-go-lucky world get charged by the kilowatt hour. However, the flow of each nozzle is actually regulated by Weights and Measures Canada. It has to flow within a certain range, so it's always the speed. And regardless of the size of your tank, it's always going to give you this many liters per second. So if you have a bigger tank, it's going to take you longer. That's fine. But if you have a smaller tank, it's going to take you less time. And then you turn over. You vacate the spot.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. It's a flow rate.
It's a flow rate, right? So it's consistent, right? Whether you have a big truck or not. The nice thing,
I get you,
is that there's 8 stalls all across, right? So unless you're lining up at Costco and you're waiting 20 minutes to fill up your car, you can get there and fill up in 5 minutes. Most cars.
That's a good analogy, right? Because people don't understand that, hey, what's this battery size and how long does it take and stuff like that. But if you look at this analogy, it's the flow rate. You go to a gas station, it's the same. Petrol is like gas. It's like electric. So it's the same juice that you put in. It's just how fast the pump can pump the charger or charges the battery.
The problem is that every vehicle has generational differences. I've talked about the charging speeds. A newer EV, will take 20 minutes. This is your Ioniq EV6, Taycan. All the newer EVs are coming on the market with above 150 kilowatt hour charging. My generation of EV, which is one generation back, it does that in 45 minutes, but its rate is limited to under 90 kilowatt hour. Mine charges at 79 max, right?
Okay.
But you've also got the older Leafs and Bolts. At a charger, they will hang out for a lot longer. right?
Yeah, it's
So
true,
you can see
because
this problem, right?
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not the capacity of the battery that's holding it back. It's actually the flow rate that's holding it back. And it's not consistent, right? So that means that in a publicly accessible space where there's a public charger, no one will get equal access to it because time is more important than the commodity on a scarce resource, right? Right? It doesn't matter how, it's like a highway. You can travel whatever speed you want. You still have equal access to that highway as a public utility.
Yeah, but if you have one lane and the car's in front, the slow car,
yeah,
you're not going to go any faster.
Everyone is pissed off because it's not fair to everyone else that can go faster, or the speed limit. I should say speed limit, right?
Speed limit,
so in this case, I mean, that's kind of the issue, and that's kind of the issue, the problem that Tesla has solved. Every Tesla charges more or less the same, and with software upgrades, they start to charge a little bit faster, depending on what Elon and his team decide is acceptable, right? Within the limits of the battery. Sometimes they do optimizations to your own vehicle specifically to lock out cells so that you don't get a battery that's wearing out too quickly, right? Or that you're not accessing parts of the battery that are dead.
Right.
Right.
So there's something off the, off topic. I want to say off topic. You know, when you get like recalls, right? Tesla says, "Oh, the driving wheels has gone a bit weird."
It's fallen off. It's fallen off, like it has in the news.
I tell you what, though, that could be a something that they're doing behind the scenes. I mean, what I'm saying is, you have one or two cars with this problem.
Yeah,
one or two cars, all right, and that's a so-called serious problem. But they recall all these cars back in, right, to do what? To do a software update. You don't know that. You heard this news, right? So you're driving a Tesla. The news says, "Oh, this driving wheel is faulty. You need to bring it in."
Yeah.
So you all these Tesla owners drive their cars into the Tesla workshop, garage, whatever, and have it fixed. But there's nothing wrong with it. But what they're doing behind is, "Oh yeah, we'll do a software update. We'll double check."
Yeah.
But at the same time, when they do the software update, is when, like you said, update their software so that their charging can be faster, slower, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you don't know because you're using their network, their infrastructure, right? So
well, the nice thing about Teslas is that this is something that they pioneered, and this is something I wish all vehicles would do. And this is a good thing, is that they do over-the-air updates, so you don't even have to visit the dealer, right? So
that's right.
So it's less of a shady situation, but kind of shady in a completely different way because obviously Elon now has access to your vehicle, and the argument from the anti-EV crowd is that he can turn it off. There have been situations where Tesla has been the bad guy. They've actually deactivated fast charging on their network for certain vehicles that have salvage titles, right? Salvage titles, not great. Could the vehicle charge at a normal public charger? Yeah, actually, I think that was the workaround. Just take it to a normal public charger and it worked again. But on their network, it would not allow the vehicle because it could cause some damage based on what their analysis is. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. But, you know, at least there was a public charging station available so that they could at least limp home or as available, right? So what Tesla does is protect their ecosystem, just like Apple does, right? You jailbreak the device. I'm sorry, no more updates. But, you know, everything else works, right? So that's kind of the like, it's good and it's bad. And it also takes away the whole DIY modding lifestyle, right? The only thing that you can do are superficial aesthetic changes, like spoilers and wheels and stuff like that. That's not fun. You want to chip it. You want to do other things to it. You can't do those things anymore, at least not easily. But there are shops popping up. They're using the Tesla tools to repair and to upgrade and to provide, you know, aftermarket parts. And I think that's a good thing. It's developing. It's very new. And you do need to be a lot more educated than the regular auto mechanic, because you actually need to have some sort of an electrical engineering background.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And computer science background to actually work on these vehicles. So jobs are going to come for a lot of people. They just need to be intelligent enough to make it through all these. And I know a lot of mechanics are extremely technical, and I think this is going to open a whole new market for them.
That's true.
You know, so you're right on the other point about other vehicles, is that they are still a slave to the dealership. You're right. One thing that is actually has been very disturbing lately, and this is on Kia vehicles because they use the regular dealership model, is that I've been finding out on forums and groups on Facebook that all these shops have been charging completely inconsistent rates for how they do a inspection. Now, the inspection is basically just a checklist. Car looks good.
Yeah, that's
blue,
true.
blue, blue.
True.
Okay, this guy's gone. We've checked it in. Battery looks good. Done. This cost is anywhere between $89 to $150 depending on the dealership, but they all do the same thing. Right? Isn't that dumb?
It is because dealerships are not like Teslas where they have their own showroom, they have their own network, they have their own engineers and stuff like that, or technicians, and you take the car in to inspect whatever. And it's a set standard rate. You know what you're getting for the price. Yeah. But if you go to different dealerships, they could provide better service. They might give you a coffee.
Yeah. You might get coffee.
And if it's a busy dealership, then it's popular because of certain stuff that they sell or service that they sell. But if you go to a smaller dealership, they may not be able to offer the service that you wanted. So you're right. It's not consistent, but if car manufacturers going to have to provide or boost their EV sales or whatever, then they need to provide that kind of service, a kind of consistent service, right? Yeah, standard service.
It's
which
also
it's
also transparency as well too. Transparency. Yeah. I called another dealer to quote a similar job on something. I just wanted to, for my own information. They said that they needed my VIN number. I'm like, well, don't you charge the same price for all of these vehicles? Like, why do you need my VIN number to quote me this cost to do this thing? And I thought it was all sorts of shady.
Is that insurance stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I was asking for I was just shopping around for the price of an EV service, which is like not a service. Like it's basically a checklist. And this is why there's different rates, right? So I was like, I just want to know. Right?
Is it like you have a Windows problem? You take your laptop to a computer shop to have it looked at, and they'll ask you, "Can I have your serial number for your Windows 11?"
Well, that's a little bit different because they're looking at the entire laptop. But I asked for one service. The one service should have a rate attached to it that should not deviate unless the bolts are stripped or broken or something. Like, no, like what's going on, guys? Like, can't you just give me a rate for this? But you need my VIN number.
Like a quotation, right?
Yeah, don't you list your prices? So in the regular legacy auto industry, it all seems very shady to me. Yeah. It seems like they are trying to lock things down, but the cat is already out of the bag.
Yeah, they need to standardize it. Yeah. Stuff like that. Talking about standardizations, so tell us more about the kilowatt charging.
Okay, right. So the ultimate troll. So as I was saying, Elon and his team petitioned Weights and Measures Canada to make this strategic change. The strategic change benefits Tesla. It benefits Tesla because, like I was setting up, every charging site that Tesla has, and this is all their supercharging sites, which make up over a third of all DC fast charging sites in Canada, have multiple stalls. I gave you an example of the gas station where it doesn't matter if someone's slow, there's other stalls that they can go to, right? Right. And also we talked about flow rate. Well, in this case, a Tesla supercharging site has consistent flow within the network for all of the vehicles. Even their slowest vehicles are within minutes of each other. So the turnover of that station can be fairly accurately figured out, right? Yeah. So everything's consistent, everything's quick. We know that if there's a lineup, it might even tell you that it's going to be 20 minutes for this guy. This guy's coming out already. We've reserved your spot. You can pull right in. Oh, great. Fantastic. I don't know if it does that or not. I'm not a Tesla owner. Maybe it does. But that is great. That entire ecosystem has capacity. And,
that's true. Yeah.
And what's even better is that Teslas can also go to a J1772 level 2 charger and plug in their vehicle if they need some charge at the mall. They can also go to a DC fast charger, a CCS charger, any public charger with an adapter and go. They can do that now.
So they can use their own Tesla chargers as well as publicly available chargers out there. with no issues at all.
That's right.
And you're gonna get that kind of, I won't say the standard charge, right? They're gonna get like 20 minutes, whatever charge, and they'll okay with that. Okay.
Yeah. And the argument for kilowatt-hour charging is that it's a fairer, it's a more fair pricing structure because it's like getting a liter of gas. Right. So in this case, every Tesla charges more or less the same. That means that the turnover is going to be fairly quick, right? So if you get 20 kilowatt hours of charging, you're paying a consistent rate no matter where you are, no matter how long you take. Okay. So the problem is, we go back up to the top. Right. We talked about how fast charging is on newer, older, and first generation EVs. It's from really fast Tesla level to really slow. But that's not
obviously slow. The older EVs with the slower charging capacity would take longer to charge the batteries, right?
That's right.
So,
but that's not the worst part. The worst part is that unlike the Tesla system, where there's capacity, where every station setup is optimized for travel throughout different corridors, and Tesla owners have the option of going off the network to charge, is that regular EVs can't jump onto Tesla chargers as an option. And most EV stations in British Columbia and across the country are singles.
Oh, so certain areas where you will find Tesla chargers, you won't see a standard level 2 charger.
It won't be there.
It won't be there.
Yeah, not every single one. Not every single one. They have, at least they have duos at Tesla chargers, but in some parts of British Columbia, and especially if you're heading up to Prince George and whatnot, you will see a single BC Hydro charger.
Okay.
Behind the post office, behind the government building.
And
that's what we're dealing with.
Not enough because there are vehicles that charge slower. So
that's right.
Right.
So in the space that you could get 5 current generation vehicles to charge, you've charged 1 Leaf.
Yeah.
That's like sitting behind the slow driver on a single lane highway.
Yeah. So it's capacity, like you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't got enough chargers, then you're only stuck with one in a village town somewhere. Yeah. And if you're traveling long distance, you need to be able to quickly charge your vehicle at that station.
That's right.
In a remote area, and then move off. 20 minutes charge, bang, you go again.
It's the only equitable way to do things, right? Yeah. It's the only equitable way to do things because this is a government-funded service, at least right now, right? Just like the roads were initially a lobby from the automotive industry to get vehicles on the roads, right? They used to be dirt and they would destroy vehicles, but they lobbied to get better roads between highways, between cities, between provinces, and that built everything, all the infrastructure there. Now we are trying to build a fueling system to set up a base model so that all the other players can come in, just like they did with gasoline, right? I mean, they used to, like, this is ridiculous. They used to go to a general store and the pharmacist would actually come out with a barrel and he would ladle the kerosene into your vehicle, right?
Heard about that.
While you're sitting there smoking a cigar and drinking your cognac, right? I'm sure there were accidents that were undocumented, right? So everything needs to start somewhere, but the consistency of the system, the capacity is something that Tesla has on lockdown. And by pushing this whole kilowatt-hour charging thing forward, they've trolled the entire system of EV manufacturers that do not have a network that can support.
Yeah.
Right?
Like I said, my time is precious. I mean, you know what they say, time is money, right? Yep. So if I was going to buy a premium EV, such as Tesla, or any others, that's capable of fast charging. Yeah. So why should I wait? Or why should I wait for someone to finish charging or who's hogging the public charger? Yeah. Right. And that's another question that people are thinking, well, capacity. And who's responsible for that? Is it the government to enable chargers stations at different points, enable more of them there. Thing is, who's going to pay for it, right?
Like, and again, what is public utilities have to have equal access. The most equitable thing that you can do is do it by time, right? So everyone gets their slice and moves on. In this, I get it. Kilowatt hour charging would be fantastic if every single vehicle had the same flow, like gas stations, but they do not. So taking a very scarce commodity, it's not the electricity that's scarce. It's the stations that are scarce. It's and like people are saying this is fair. It's not fair.
It's like that fair usage policy, right? On the having your data bandwidth.
Right.
Be fair.
So it's not fair. And I know that there's one other point, and I have to argue for the other side too, is that in certain parts of the country, it's colder than other parts of the country, right? Especially in the winter, right? So kilowatt hour charging would be great if we had that for those places, but it would also tie up all of the stations, every single port.
That's a question I want to ask. So in the winter when it's cold, does it take longer to charge?
It does. There was a study done. There was a study done, and I think it was one of the colder parts of the world, Norway, where it's the EV capital of the world. They've done the study, right? They know. On average, a EV takes 36% longer to charge in the winter under zero. So that means that -10, -20, you're at minimum 36% longer to do the same charge that you did in the summer. Okay. I did a little math because people hate math because it's logical. and it refutes their point completely because feelings have no place for math in math. Yeah. So I took, I did a quick read of 50 kilowatt hour, which is your Bolt and your Leaf, 77, which is, my vehicle and most EVs in that kind of middle range. And then of course I did a quick read on EVs that were able to charge 150 kilowatt hour or faster, right? This is just ballpark numbers. I just want to go out there and look at time-based versus kilowatt-hour base. Okay? So hear me out. So most EVs paying per minute billing are charged under 90 kilowatt hour, charged about 26 cents per minute. Okay? And then that's all the way up to 77. So the 50 kilowatt hour EV and the 77 kilowatt EV pay the same rate, 26 cents. When you get into the 150 kilowatt hour range, you start to pay 37 cents. All right?
You pay more.
You pay more
for a faster charger, right?
That's right.
Charging. Okay.
That's right. So this is where the variation comes in because it's up to 36% or more slower. So if in the wintertime, the 50 kilowatt hour charging vehicle would take 49 minutes to get 20 kilowatt hours. I used a round number so that we would know roughly, right? In the summer, it would take 36 minutes. The cost difference, $9.23 in the summer, $12.56 in the winter.
Okay.
It's negligible, right? It might make more sense in the long term, but in this case, that's what it is. On the 77 kilowatt hour vehicle, you're looking at 21 minutes versus 29. I mean, the margins get smaller as you get faster charging, right? $5.39 for that 20 kilowatt hour, $7.33 in the winter, right? The big daddies, they're charging at the higher 37-cent rate. You're looking at 11 minutes to get 20 kilowatt hour, 15 minutes in the wintertime.
Wow. 11 to 15 minutes to charge
20 kilowatt hour.
That's
now, depending on the vehicle, that's 100 kilometers or something or more, right? The cost difference is 407 and 554. So the faster vehicles based on time charging are way cheaper than the vehicles that charge way slower, right? So there is an inequity, but there is also more turnover so that more people can get on those public chargers, right? So the argument that all these people are up on is that, it's so much better if you charge by kilowatt hour. Well, I kind of beg to differ here. Because
I mean, the thing is, like I said, capacity is the main issue. And if you look at most EV owners, they drive in the city.
Yeah, they drive in the
city.
city.
I know that because if I walk out now, I see 5 Teslas roaming around in this area, right? And They're city travel. Maximum kilometers, what, 50? If I go to you from Richmond to Coquitlam, that's like 50 kilometers, right?
You can drive to me
Roughly
5 times.
Yeah, exactly. So within city limits, they're fine. So they can find publicly, available chargers, the Tesla chargers around within the city. Now, if you go out of the city, then that's a big problem because there's not enough capacity. Like I said, if I wanted to go to Banff, right, which is like how many kilometers is that? 300-ish?
It's more. Yeah, I can't remember. It's over 400. Over 400.
Okay, so 400 kilometers from city Vancouver to Banff, right?
Yeah.
And now I have to, rather than just jump on the car and go, I can't do that. I have to plan where those chargers are going to be, right? If I was Tesla, no problem. I can go because I know there's going to be, like I said, 6 available stalls at each charging points.
The car tells you.
Yeah, and I can go within maybe 3 charges. I can get there, right? Long distance. Now, if I were driving your car, Kia or Leaf, whatever, now I have to plan that. Where can I find these chargers? Is it going to be just one charger at this village, at this town? And if I do, who's going to be using it there?
I'll give you direct examples right now. I'll give you direct examples. There is a charger in a place called Field, BC. This is the savior charger because it saves you between Canmore and Golden. Because when they shut down that road, you can't go out. So there's a single charger there.
A single one.
A single one. Right? So in the summer, when there's 4 people waiting, how long do you have to wait? And what if they were all Leafs? You would be sleeping overnight. Every car taking an hour to get to 80%. Come on now. There's not enough capacity. This kilowatt hour thing in the current climate is unfair to the majority of EV drivers because it doesn't give everyone an equal slice of time because time is precious, not the commodity. The commodity has lots. We have tons of electricity in BC. So let's go back to the kilowatt hour rate. I found this rate on Electrify America. So I can, and they're charging 65 cents per kilowatt hour. Again, the standard rate in BC is like 9 cents for base rate, 14 cents. So the markup was about 4 to 5 times. Again, you have to pay for the station. You have to deal with the upkeep and everything. I get there's going to be an accessibility charge, right? So I worked it out. For the 50 kilowatt hour charging station to pick up 20 kilowatts, the vehicle. So this is your Leaf, your Bolt. It would cost $12.96 to charge. And time is not a factor. So it would only cost you $12.96. This is only 40 cents. This is 40 cents more than if you charge by time. So the argument that it's cheaper is bullshit. Sorry, children. Sorry, children. I did math. I mathed this thing out. So the 50 kilowatt Leaf is actually paying more for commodity-based charging if they were paying the rack retail rates. And remember, I did say that if they have surge pricing on this, it's going to get really spicy at certain times of the day when that charger is busy.
Like a peak
charging.
Hour.
And they already have that in Seattle where they allow kilowatt hour charging. So EVgo, Tesla, they all do that. All right. So what you've asked for, you're going to get, but you're going to get it in the butthole.
All right. Okay. So tell us right now. So this kilowatt charging per hour is not effective yet, or is it happening now?
It's being rolled out, and it's going to take some time for Weights and Measures Canada to figure out how to certify all the chargers so that you're getting the right amount of electricity accurately and being priced correctly, just like gas pumps. Every gas pump, if you look at it, there's a sticker on it from Weights and Measures Canada. It's been certified on this date. It's been measured. It's been certified, right?
So it's been certified, so you know that you're getting this rate. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kilowatt per hour charging. What's the other rate of charging? Is that what you're using now?
Per minute.
Is that what you're charging? Is that what you're using right now?
Canada is per minute right now. So I call bullshit because I just proved to you with a little bit of math that even in the winter, your per kilowatt charging, and it's assuming that they go with this rate. I took it from a place that was already published, that there was a rate available, and the US might be a little bit more money. But if they implement surge charging, it's going to be rock and roll for all the providers, right? Because you unleash the beast, right? My vehicle, if I were to charge with kilowatt hour charging, it would cost me, Oh God, it would cost me $12.96 because it's the same 20 kilowatts.
Right.
Right. So I would have paid in the winter $7.33. Now I'm mad.
Yeah.
And guess what? This is even worse.
So Tesla's pushing this forward.
Yep.
And the
because they
Canadian
can.
government has already agreed on it, and it's going to be rolling out. And that effectively, basically, kind of like, I wouldn't say penalize the slower charging EV vehicles, but it's kind of like a hit in the nuts, right?
It's a hit in the nuts in the non-Tesla ecosystems of charging. The entire other side of the EV market in Canada is getting kicked in the nuts because people are misguided in what they see as fair. It's not fair. Check this out. 150 kilowatt hour charging vehicle. Used to only take 15 minutes and $5.54 to get out of there, right? Time-based charging. You're turning over that charger as fast as possible. Now you're paying $12.96. It used to be $5.54. So now the people that are getting on board with EVs, the late adopters, the people and early adopters, they're upgrading to the fastest possible technology. They're getting penalized now too. So
are they trying to push this EV technology in terms of like, okay, if you got an older vehicle, it's now time for an upgrade? In other words, you have to buy a new vehicle, EV.
There needs to be a secondary market first. Like people are complaining that EVs are too expensive. The secondary market must exist. But in order for it to exist in Canada, we cannot not allow them to charge on public infrastructure or anything. So we have to build the capacity to allow them to come in and play with everyone else on the level playing field. We have to recognize that there's going to be one, it's like the grocery line at the store. In a small town, you have two lines. You have the fast checkout, and then you have the line where the old lady has all the coupons. Right? Okay, the fast lane is going to get bogged up, and everyone with a big grocery cart is going to be waiting a long time
behind,
right?
A long time for.
So that is right now the state of how most EV charging stations in Canada, with the onesies and twosies, which are very, very common, is operating. Tesla is like a brand new grocery store with 20 lines. Take any line you want. Don't worry, this person can do self-checkout. These people need a little bit more help, and that old lady has that cashier all to herself. It doesn't matter.
So basically Tesla has pushed this forward, and the government's agreed on this, and it's basically to their own advantage.
It's to their own advantage completely. I mean, this was going to come eventually, but they lobbied to make this happen faster at their own benefit, at the detriment of every other brand.
Yeah, I understand that if they have the infrastructure, like in the US, certain parts of Canada, like Ontario, like Toronto.
Ontario's better.
Yeah, so you have enough capacity for other EV stations, EV charging companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So and the infrastructure's there. But for elsewhere where there's not enough, that's where the problem is, right? So
and
it's
get this. Quebec has good charging infrastructure. They've taken it upon themselves to do the right thing. And kilowatt hour charging may or may not affect them as much, but in BC, we're moving a little bit slower, but we have more cars. We are the top market, right?
That's right.
We're the top market. Cars. Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Ontario. Ontario has fewer actually per station. Right. So so they'll be fine for a little while, but BC, holy crap. Again, I've told you many times, there are so many EVs in my neighborhood right now. There's loads, right? So imagine if everyone decided to take a road trip on the long weekend. They have to go through Hope, which is a charging hub. There's only 8 chargers in that whole town for normal vehicles. There's 16 down the highway for Teslas. And they all charge at a certain rate. Imagine if all of them changed the kilowatt hour all of a sudden. Then everyone's going to be stuck in that town for a couple hours, right? It might be good for tourism and local businesses, but not this way, guys. Not this way, right?
If you're in a rush and time is precious and time is money, then you're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, and again, equal access. We can't let one leaf hog up one charger that can charge 5 vehicles and have them on the way, right? The population, the people demand that equal access, right?
Oh yeah,
in time,
fair use fair usage.
Whatever
policy,
is the scarce commodity in this case, it ain't kilowatt hours. It's time at that charger. It's the number of chargers. So everyone's thinking about this in a non-user customer service kind of way. Yes, it's logical, but holy crap, people get mad, and then the entire EV adoption phase gets stunted. No matter how good your intentions are to push kilowatt hour. Like some people are into kilowatt hour charging. There's this one guy, I've told you about him before, who reviews cars in Toronto. He's very logical dude, but he's missed this entire point that people will be people.
Right. I mean, he, like I said, the car reviewer gets this the EV car to test. He charges it for maybe an hour.
Yeah, and then he returns it to the depot, right? Doesn't really live with
it. Everyday usage, like everyday normal people usage, right? And plus, he's only driving it in the city area.
Yeah,
like I said, you don't need there's enough capacity. Don't get me wrong. There's enough capacity in city areas, right? But when you go out of the city areas to another town, that long road trip, that's horrifying, the major issue, right?
It's horrifying in Manitoba. It's horrifying in Saskatchewan. There's so few chargers, right? Right, and if someone is stuck there, you're overnighting in that city.
Yeah, you need capacity. I think the solution for this is capacity, right?
Yep.
If they build enough chargers, public chargers, stuff like that, at the same rate as Tesla. If Tesla, builds up like a charging station with 6 stalls, then like I said, the local BC Hydro, whatever company that is in Canada, charging stations and stuff like that, they need to build something similar.
Yes.
At the same time. So they have both vertical infrastructure being built.
And I didn't even tell you about the 2 other issues.
What's that?
In remote areas, a lot of people like to drive trucks, right?
Oh yeah, trucks.
If a truck pulls into an existing EV set of chargers, they're spaced pretty closely together, right? A truck pulling over to get their port in the right spot will block multiple chargers.
Huge trucks are.
Right? So not only is capacity an issue, but to have the right spacing, like a gas station, to have pull-throughs, to have places where a truck can access. And the truck people are your anti-EV people most of the time because, I got to haul 20,000 pounds every day, 400 miles up and down the hill. These are the people that are going to have a field day when you switch to kilowatt hour charging, when everyone's waiting around having coffee around that one single charger. They're going to laugh at you and now a truck has blocked all 4 chargers. What are you going to do? So think before you promote it so heartily, right? Because you're killing the industry, even though you love the industry. It's logical to pay by kilowatt hour, but not right now because humans.
I think you need like time for it to implement. I mean, if you give it like I said, I can't even get an EV until the end of the year and possibly next year. So it
gives you time.
It gives us time. So you need that time for it to implement in anything. And if you're just pushing it like that and have it this implemented without thinking about it, only thinking about city areas. Yeah. City areas are fine. Outside the city, your country, Canada, is not just 1-2 cities. Yeah. It's the entire northern.
And it's different America, climate zones as well too, right? Like Norway, if we look at them for easy solutions, Norway actually charges different rates for charging in the north and the south of the country.
Oh, do they?
They do. They also have seasonal rates for their chargers so that people are fairly charged, but they have capacity.
Yeah.
And the majority of their vehicles, the secondhand vehicles, they're going to come from there because as they're getting out of their first generation of vehicles, they're going to come here They're going to be secondhand vehicles, potentially. I don't know. Like probably more likely, US will send us their 50 kilowatt hour slower charging vehicles, and we won't know what to do with them. It's already happening right now. Most dealers are actually taking Bolts, Leafs, and they're selling them used on lots. And all of these vehicles charge very slowly. These will be the vehicles that lower income families will be getting into. And I support that wholly because it's going to save you so much money. But at the same time, where are you going to charge it? And how are you going to affect everyone around you while you're charging it? And these are the questions. These are the customer service issues. These are the human issues. These are the feelings that have no logic issues that you have to really realize before you pull the plug on something that sounds monetarily accurate. And I've already done the math. I've proven to you that no, you're actually penalizing the people that adopt the newer vehicles, the people that adopt the next generation vehicles, and you've really not saved the guy that's charging the slowest any money whatsoever.
So in that case, if they're going to implement this and say, I don't own a Tesla, but I own one of these premium Mercedes or Taycan, whatever, those high-end EVs that can charge faster, but I'm not able to use a Tesla charger, by the way.
Yeah.
And if I go to one of these public chargers there now, I'm not charging at the slower rate. Is that what you're saying? So why pay for a premium EV?
No, well, it's not only that. You're stuck behind someone that's charging slower. You can't have that charger. You can't even have it.
Yeah.
You're in the queue.
So but if I go for a Tesla, I can charge it publicly if I wanted, or I can just use my Tesla charging stations. You have options. And this is the biggest troll behind the scenes that most Canadians don't even know that Elon did to them. Right? Elon, what are you doing, Elon?
Elon has
you've played with Twitter. Now step off Tesla, please.
Yeah. You know what? In the US, they've got a lot of networks and everything, but in Canada, that was an easy low blow. That was an easy low blow. Like you did it, and people fell for you hook, line, and sinker because kilowatt hour charging. That sounds like a really good idea. I think that's going to be fair because now if I'm in a cold climate, I'm not going to pay as much. Well, you fucked over excuse me, children. You screwed everyone over. You screwed everyone over, guys. And when surge pricing comes, believe me, it's going to come. You're going to regret the day that you got kilowatt hour charging because it'll be taken care of. It will be taken advantage of, right? I mean, you'll be charging your car in the middle of the night, and that's fine. That's exactly when you should be charging it. But when you need it during the day to return your press vehicle, you'll be charged 75 cents a minute or 75 cents a kilowatt hour. How is that helping anyone?
Hey, to all our viewers, see how passionate Stephen is. That's because he's been an EV driver for the last 2 years, and he's seen this thing happen from the beginning, and he has a lot of experience. So that's why he's so, I
don't want you people to complain that it takes so long to charge or that you're stuck behind people. If you take away the time-based charging, you're going to be waiting, and no one likes to wait. Heck, I don't even like to wait for food at a fast food restaurant most of the time. I will pre-order and get it in the app, right? Yeah. And it's
like those restaurants where you have like an hour or 90 minutes max for dining.
Yes.
And then
you're at the Summer Palace during the smorgasbord, the buffet. You know, you give your customers an hour and a half, get out. Get out. Right? I need to turn this table over or it's not going to make money.
How fast can you eat? Is your mouth big enough?
Yeah.
Is your stomach big enough?
Exactly. So the problem is time when it comes to a scarce commodity. Everyone should have equal access to a public utility that is scarce. A charger in a small town, one single charger to get you to your next destination, to get you to the next charger is a very valuable resource that if monopolized with a commodity-based charging, it's going to screw over everyone that needs access to it for that 20 minutes. Now we're waiting behind this guy that takes an hour. And now 3 cars could have gone through. There's no other chargers on either side of this one. There are no other options in a lot of cases. It's too soon. Hopefully, Weights and Measures Canada, and I know that they're advising with a lot of different groups on when this is going to roll out and everything. This whole kilowatt hour thing was actually about a year delayed. It should have happened last year. But of course, with the COVID stuff and everything, as everyone's adapting, it was delayed, right? So thankfully so. I hope that, like cooler heads and wiser heads prevail, that we're going to need more chargers, and we're going to need to mandate that these publicly funded chargers have to maintain a 97, 98% uptime. Right now, even though you have 4 chargers, they look nice, maybe 1 or 2 of them are dead.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like I said, I think the only way to implement this fairly is having the charger lock out at, say, 30 minutes, 45 minutes max.
I wouldn't say lockout. I would say maybe a very high premium over a charging period, a penalty, a grace period. That's something that needs to be implemented, because you'll get someone sitting at a charger that's charging at 26 cents a minute. There's my rate, 26 cents a minute. Then all of a sudden, they don't want to come back. They want to charge to 100%. And in most EVs, getting from 80% to 100% takes as long as it took to get from 20% to 80%. So, but they don't care because the rate is so low. There needs to be a penalty where it's like quadruple the rate. Once you get from 26 cents and you have a 10-minute grace period, after 10 minutes, $1. You'll be coming back real fast. I guarantee it.
Yeah. So like I said, like, time is money. So if that's it's time is precious. So I think if I was an EV driver with a slower charging vehicle
today, if you were an EV driver, if this was implemented today, you're getting out on your very first road trip. You want to drive to Banff.
Yeah.
I've already told you that there's only one charger in the field if you are in an emergency, and there's only one other one as you head up through Glacier Parkway heading to Banff. And you knew this, how long would you be willing to wait behind a slower charging EV?
See, I wouldn't be able to.
You wouldn't be able to
plan that trip. I'll probably have just take a gas car, to be honest.
Exactly. And what did we just do? We just set back the entire EV movement by another generation, because you still have to drive that car for 5 years until you're tired of it. Right?
All right.
So I think I'm right, but I could totally be wrong as well too. Or Canada might be like, hey, whoa. We're going to delay this until everyone can give us capacity and uptime, and then we'll put in the kilowatt hour. No problem. Maybe they make some changes.
True.
Man, right. What a hot topic. That's my what do they call this? This is my hot take. It's
the rant.
It's my rant and my hot take. And on that note, I got to cool down. So thank you so much for tuning in with us every single week. We love you. Wednesday on YouTube is where we're at, because we are a YouTube exclusive show that you won't find anywhere else. So if you want to be notified when we drop a new show, you have to help us get subscribed. Get yourself subscribed. Get the bell icon rung. And if you do, YouTube will tell you the minute that we've got the next new show out, which is usually around noon on Wednesday. And if you want to reach out to me, the comment section is obviously the best place to do it. But you can also get a hold of me on Twitter at Stephen Fung, or Instagram at Stephen Fung, at least until they start charging me a horrible rate like they're planning to, which is the topic of an upcoming podcast down the road. So leave us some comments about your ideas there. Where can people find you, Winston?
Yeah, you can find me on Winston Tube, and also that's on Twitter, but also at Instagram as well at Winston Tube. Mostly lifestyle stuff and things like that. Talking about that, we have some new business cards.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, more about that when you see us on our Instagram pages and things like that. You'll see some nice artwork.
Very nice
there. Yeah. So thank you again. And of course, join us each and every week, me and Stephen, for our podcast show. Stephen.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.